Thing again. Hello.
Are we on?
We're on.
Hello.
We're live.
This is only the highest level of production value here on Theory Crafting.
What do you expect from two X-sponsored streamers?
There might be a reason. Also, what's our delay on this stream, huh?
I'm not exactly sure what the delay is right now.
There we go.
But I just had to rip that dagger out of my heart. I think it was actually my lung, but don't question my anatomy. Just the Mitch saying that it was warranted that we are not sponsored streamers anymore.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Someday soon. Here,
isn't a joke. It's America's birthday.
It's America's freaking birthday, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Let's go.
We always know how to celebrate the best of birthdays for this country.
Got any plans? What are you doing? Do you have like what's your kind of go-to 4th of July celebration?
One of my favorite things is being an employee of European-based entities and working with a lot of European-based companies because they really look differently at America. But today I had some meetings that was with our some of our English colleagues, and started the meeting off by saying Happy America Victory Day coming up this weekend. I hope you all celebrate. And they laughed. Like, this is not a laughing matter. This is America's birthday. This is some serious business. This is very serious. We take it super serious, don't we? Don't we, Mitch?
Yes, we do. I had an email exchange with a vendor that I'm trying to get a quote from, and they basically emailed and said blah blah blah. They're kind of pushing me. They're not my first choice, and they said, yeah, we're gonna need payment in full and a contract and designs by Monday. And I was like, well, that's not going to work because, first of all, it is America's birthday this weekend and it is a holiday. So, but also, I'm not going to be able to do this by Tuesday either. So, like, we're going to have to pass. And I didn't say that part, but then he replied back. He's like, oh, I didn't even realize, my bad. It's like, yeah, it's because you're from England and you lost, mate.
Yep, you guys didn't win that war. We claimed the land from east to west, north to south. Well, almost north to south. Mostly east to west.
It is not often, though, where we get to flex on how we have a holiday and our European counterparts do not have a holiday. So I do wear those. It doesn't happen too often. I
mean, I'm also over here flexing on the one day that we get coming up on a Monday because our holiday falls on a weekend. But they end up getting, I think it's 6 weeks mandatory that they take off. And if they don't, they get thrown in jail because it's the law. You got to go on vacation.
They would have gotten the entire week off, right? If it fell off on a Sunday. It's like, all right, we'll give you Thursday and Friday, and then you can take Monday and Tuesday for bank holiday.
Yep. Well, Midsummer is like the kickoff for it in Sweden, at least. And once Midsummer hits, it's like, are you going to see your Swedish colleague until October? Maybe once or twice at a bar. Not working because everybody's going to be on vacation for the entire sunny part of the year. But I miss Midsummer. I saw all the celebration going on all those weeks ago, but damn, I want to go back to Sweden and have that Midsummer celebration. But it's nothing quite like America Day.
Yeah, America Day is my favorite holiday. Every year we go to Wisconsin. We've got lake property. Do a little boating activities, water sports, campfires, barbecues, guns, all the good stuff. And most importantly, though, hanging with the family that I don't get to see too often. It's America Day is special for a lot of reasons. And for me, it's mainly because of getting some family time and some FaceTime. So I always look forward to it.
Nice. Yeah, I am going to be back home watching the dogs because everyone else is dispersed doing things right now. So I am going to be watching those two big old 125-pound pieces of fudge that my sister and my mother have. Those wonderful dogs are just a blast, and they do really well with the fireworks. So I'm happy to be watching them this weekend.
Oh yeah, those brown lab. Yeah,
chocolate. Yeah, chocolate labs.
Chocolate labs.
English and an American.
In my experience, labs are either they're totally chill with fireworks, or they are on the complete other side, which is like, oh my god, what is that? Everybody panic, right? And I assume that your boys are on that side of it.
They're on the pretty chill side of things. Buster's a little more anxious nowadays than he used to be, but that's just because he's got a playmate all the time that he's constantly playing with, and Riley, which last year I was at the beach at the ocean with Riley when he was a puppy. He was not even a year old, and now he's a little over a year old, and He's bigger than Buster, so he's like almost 130 pounds. This thing is so big. But he, I don't know what his personality is going to be like this year with the fireworks, because last year he really didn't have a whole lot, and this year he's developed a personality where he barks at everything. So he may just be vocal the whole time. I have no clue.
Good luck.
Thanks. Thanks.
Good luck.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So what's going on in the world, huh? There's I don't know, man. We probably should have done a little bit of show prep here. I'm just gonna be honest with the people out there. We kind of rolled in on this one kind of hot.
It's a holiday weekend.
Holiday weekend.
Not even a Thursday. It's a Friday.
Not even a Thursday. That is the other weird part of this is we usually do the show on Thursday, and today's Friday, so the mojo is a little off. But it is what it is. So
It is. And, I don't know that there's a whole lot going on right now because everyone's rolling into this weekend. I feel like this is, at least from my perspective, like the opening back up of things. And PAX tickets were on sale. Now they have, like, all of their restrictions out there. And, like, the Washington State Convention Center is allowed to open up because there's L&I restrictions that regulate all of that now. And our governor didn't go backwards on his word. So Washington's like open and ready to go. So I feel like a lot more places are like that this time this year, and people are getting out. They're actually doing things.
Yeah, so PAX tickets, what kind of restrictions, or what's the general flow of like how they are going to be operating? You know what I mean? Has anything really been published as far as like COVID protocols, mitigation efforts, prereqs to get in, etc.? I'm curious.
Yeah, so for the health side, the health and safety information's out, and they are requiring face coverings. They are also requiring all cosplay, obviously. They're doing temperature screening still.
Did you just say they're requiring cosplay?
Not requiring coverings for cosplay. So, I mean, essentially everyone's required to cosplay is kind of the way you could look at it, I guess. Yeah, temperature screenings, increased sanitization and hygiene stations, reduced capacity, which the 4-day tickets are already gone, and they increased the price. Not terribly surprising there. They are encouraging physical distancing still. They are using directional and distance markings on the floor. It feels a little bit like it's back in July of last year. If they were to have been able to have run the event in September again. Like the restrictions, like they're even saying greetings without handshakes and, follow all signage and directions from staff. Like this is kind of what Disneyland looked like when they opened up. It feels like that same model.
Yeah, it's one of the first big, I guess, pushes towards a return to what the world used to be like as far as gaming is concerned. I know a lot of the esports productions are kind of moving back into studio environments, but there are still no crowds. And from like an event perspective, this feels like what I would have expected. I am pleasantly surprised that they are trying to do a PAX this year. I actually had kind of already written it off as like, yeah, they're not going to do it. But that was many months ago, so I'm really interested. The one thing I think is kind of hilarious is this idea of greeting without handshakes, and they have the little symbol is like two stick figures like waving at each other. I mean, really what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of the elbow bumps and then the fist bumps, and then eventually people start shaking hands. But I think that one's actually a little interesting to me because like I don't know, right? I think that one's a little goofy, but I like the idea of directional markings and like distance markings. I think directional markings is really interesting, especially in like a really packed convention center, just like traffic flow and moving people around. That kind of stuff I think is here to stay if it wasn't already. And then requiring masks for cosplay, like, I mean, I guess, but that also means like these cosplayers are just gonna have like another element to like brand into their like their vibe or whatever. So it's actually
see that.
It's gonna be kind of cool to see some of those masks actually.
The really fascinating part for me is that tickets have been on sale now for the better part of a week. The 4 days have sold out, but there are still Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday badges, which I would expect from normal PAX years that only Monday badges would be available at this rate, and all of the rest of them would be at least held, if not totally claimed, if not just by scalpers. But I think this goes to show that even the scalping market's a little bit down for these bigger events, because they mentioned reduced capacity. We don't know what that capacity will be. The official numbers from PAX, I don't believe, have ever been released for the full PAX West attendance, but I don't know what reduced capacity will look like, and if they're going to continue to change these regulations based off of the L&I regulations of the state of Washington. But they haven't sold out of the limited number of passes yet, so I think that we may be seeing a little bit of hesitance from people for these larger events, even though I have not been able to forget that Alex Jabali has sold out CEO in December. He will not let me forget that happened, because he's so proud of himself. Proud of Alex as well. But
Could be.
yeah, it's a crazy thing. He sold out 3,000 plus tickets, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But PAX is not sold out all the way, so maybe they should call Alex Jabali and get a little bit of assistance. Maybe he'll help sell the place out.
I think there's a bit of a perception difference as far as the local populations are concerned. I am also very surprised with PAX still having tickets available, because I remember plenty of years in the past where if you're not there on like day one, good luck kind of deal. And the scalping market thing is interesting. I guess, yeah, the idea is like, if you're gonna sit on a bunch of tickets, you better hope that the attendance will be there to offload them. And I wonder how long it's gonna take. Like, I'm pretty convinced the event will sell out. I would be really surprised if it didn't. And even from an optics perspective, if it wasn't gonna sell out and I was the PAX West organizers, I'd probably just go ahead and just buy all the remaining tickets, just for the optics. But I am curious actually how well attended it will be and what the final capacity number is gonna be compared to years past.
Yeah, and I think as event organizers, this is all something that we are very curious about. How the public will receive events coming back. And we honestly don't know. When we're getting mixed signals all over the place. And I think what you said earlier about the regions, very different regions of the country, completely opposite parts of the country to be specific, and different parts have opened their arms to events, or some parts have been a little bit more reluctant. And what I do believe we're seeing a lot less of is travel, like people that are willing to go through the airport, go stay in a hotel, all of that. A lot of that extra effort, energy, and cost at the end of the day too, that goes into traveling. I think a lot more people are just not willing to do that. So this may be a total local sellout so far from PAX, which I wouldn't be terribly surprised with Seattle. That 4-day passes sold out like crazy just to a bunch of locals, which would be cool. I think that would be awesome. And doing a local bit of a local nod this time around be not bad. But when it does come to those traveling in, I'm curious to what it will look like in their minds to decide to go to an event. For me, this is a lot easier. I can go home and be in my bed every night. I just have to drive up and down. But if I were going to an event, I need to go to the airport, and I need to be willing to go to the airport and go through all the precautions there, because those are still in place. Those are not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. And then to stay in a hotel room, the additional cost at the hotel rooms because of all of the procedures that they need to go through to clean them more thoroughly. We all wished they would have cleaned them that well back in the day, but now even the lowest of star hotels require themselves to be 2-star hotels. That's the way they clean it. But I hope it's not too much of a hassle to get people to travel and come to shows again.
I don't think it will be. I mean, it'll take a little bit of time, of course, and I think you're probably very astute in your observation that this could sell out locally. A good chunk of the PAX tickets and sales historically have always kind of gone to industry people, and industry people drive a lot of the attendance in a lot of these conventions. I'm not going to say that if the industry people didn't go, it still wouldn't have sold out in a normal year, but it certainly is a significant chunk of people. And that hesitancy about getting on an airplane, going to a hotel, that extra hustle and oh my god, I gotta go to the airport, but it is kind of annoying. But I will also tell you that if you take a city like Las Vegas, I'm running into the situation now where, even a couple weeks ago, oh yeah, you can, I'm going to go there in 2 days. And I need a hotel room. It's cheap, piece of cake. Like even Vegas hotels are starting to sort of like book and sell out, and like, oh, you need to call ahead 2 weeks now if you want to be in that hotel. And like, it's getting back to, at least in Las Vegas in particular, because that's the city I've gone to a couple times and I'm involved with just because of work, right? I've noticed that like, oh, Vegas is basically back to normal. I mean, I heard reports of like 90% sort of like attendance, like from where they usually are. So like Vegas is kind of roaring back, and I think that it's going to happen naturally and eventually with Seattle in particular. But this could also be a really good year to drag your butt to PAX. It could be a really cool, unique experience if you are comfortable and like okay with the risks and all that, because I guess so I gotta take that in consideration.
Yeah, for sure. And in true event fashion, they have zero content listed on their website when tickets go live, just like
So
you know us, we were gonna do good things, right? Like that's the negotiation that's going on right now, is please believe that we're gonna provide you good content. And PAX has historically done that, so I don't see why this would not be very well received as far as an event goes. And I think that it will start to move the tickets a little bit more as we see the summer move on. We see the exciting things released for it. That momentum and that energy will be there again. I mean, a lot of people are probably just less aware because brand awareness goes down after a solid while, and PAX hasn't happened since 2019, fall of 2019.
Yep.
So 2 years by the time that it'll happen again. That's a long time to at least click in the head with brand awareness and that things are happening and like it's actually happening and not going to be canceled because everyone's gone through that roller coaster of yay it's on, no it's not, yay it's on, oh no it's not. This seems like it's actually on for good now.
Yeah, I also chuckled about the event content. I did notice that just looking at the featured event section, it seems like all of the standard sections that are always there are there. I was a little surprised to not really see anything new, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like, if I just looked at this and I removed the date, it almost feel like any other year. And I'm wondering if there will be any new content additions, new digital only experiences, new whatever, right, to augment it, or if it literally just the goal is probably potentially just we just got to have the show. We don't want to go 3 years until the next PAX, right? And if they don't do it this fall, that's 2022 before we get one. So
yep.
Yeah. I understand, like, it's hard to do these events in this time.
Yep. And when you look at the footprint that they've had in the convention center, I'm curious to see how they will lay it out, what like precautions they will actually have with doing the one ways and going across like the sky bridge and into the different halls and maneuvering through that. And when you're talking about one ways, that's a big conversation as someone who exhibits in one of those, because you're really restricting the flow of traffic to who can see their booth. And when you turn right and you are required to go right, that first booth you see, is it almost giving better exposure as an exhibitor if you are required as someone to kind of go through and meander all the way through? Like, you can't get out of the maze once you've started it. I imagine they've got to have ways to like pop and shortcut through still, but then just like driving in a city, if you take the wrong one way, like, no, I gotta go all the way around, you may miss booths.
You know how in IKEA they kind of lay the store out so it's like room by room and it's sort of like very guided in the experience, but if you know where to look, there are shortcuts and ways to navigate, right? I feel like it's maybe going to be something like that where it is very guided. I do think you're onto something with this idea of booth placement. Potentially it could be good or bad. I think it could be very good because it's like guaranteed this is the flow of traffic and people will walk this way and you can place it. I think it could also be potentially bad because a lot of the fun of an expo hall is just kind of stumbling around and whatever, and you as an exhibitor might see strategic value in being in a certain part of the floor space depending on the orientation. So I don't really know, and I also have never been to a PAX, so I don't know how the floor is laid out. Is it like a typical just like big expo hall, like big
Expo,
square, or how do they
expo.
do it?
Like main entrance for the past couple of years, they've had people line up outside because it's been overwhelming on the escalators and things to have that many people in there all at the entry point. I mean, they pack the house for these things. So big expo hall, floods, and normally there's some real good booths right there, big booths that you'll want to see. And then as you go in and around to the left and then back across the sky bridge, then you go into the big expo hall on the other side of the street, and that's usually where the best booths are. Like the Xboxes are back there, the PlayStation usually has their booth, Bethesda used to have a big booth back there, the indie mega booth is back in the far back. That's the hall that most people like rush back to because that's where the good demos are. But I think they have had one main artery going through for the most part, and most of the other halls or like the corridors are pretty narrow in comparison. Like they're probably the minimum the fire marshal requires, put it that way. And they pack the booths in there. They jam pack it. They put PAX Arena in there on the front right now, and that's a nice draw to fill the space with their own content and their own stage. But then upstairs they have the 6th floor, which is the Wild West, as we call it. So I've exhibited there a couple times myself with different endeavors. Ooh. Right? It's pretty fun. But this is like where all the indie booths are. This is where all the smaller exhibitors are. So you get some decently mid-sized exhibitors up there, but like this is really the indie floor. They have some other ballrooms up there that have some other activities going on for retro games or tournaments and just free play areas. But that space is usually a little bit more packed than downstairs is because it's tighter and there's more booths up there, a lot more to see versus like big 30 by 30s or 50 by 50s from like an Asus or someone like that. Razer usually camps down on that first hall as well, but I think they're gonna have natural holes, if I were to guess this year, that are going to allow for bigger corridors and bigger pathways through the expo naturally, which is great because that's what they're wanting to do based off of their health standards and just having more space to allow people to walk through and not have to be as jam-packed in there, because there have been years that PAXs have been jam-packed even through some of the bigger halls that they have. Just huge crowds around those booths doing giveaways. Even our good friend Torben has had a couple hundred people stand in front of him holding the Snorlax above his head that he was raffling away for the kids at Extra Life. So I don't know that it'll be that packed this year based off of what they've described it as.
I'm kind of thinking that in addition to the general public, it's obviously going to be less people, right? And I'm still pretty convinced it'll be well attended. I'm wondering how many businesses, after it's been 2 years since we've had a PAX, right? I'm wondering how many of these guys are looking at this thinking themselves, why do we really need to spend $1 million on this booth, right? Or conversely, this could be the year where they're like, we haven't spent all of this money this year that we normally do. It's time to go really, really, really huge and massive in like the couple events that we potentially get to. I think it could go like either way, right? You're going to see these potentially this most ridiculous, just exorbitant spending of money just because it's like we finally have an outlet for these budgets. Or you might see like potentially polls, to your point, because like there's potentially businesses that are just like, yeah, we don't either want to do it or feel the need to do it anymore because like
we can't.
We don't have to.
Like,
or we can't.
There's some businesses that may not be able to because of the impact of COVID in one way or another. If it may be just that the business is no longer in a position to exhibit, or that they don't have anything to exhibit because they're behind on their schedule, or if they are just not even able to get into the country at that point. I still don't know what it'll look like for certain parts of the world to even come to the US at that point in time. And you're talking about big international brands that have a huge presence in manufacturing in Asia. I don't know when that international level of travel is going to open up, and I feel like you may know a thing or two about that nowadays, maybe even becoming an expert in the field. But
well, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the field. All I know is that it's really hard to get people into the United States from other countries, which is why we are going to Mexico for our event. But yeah, it's it's quite a tricky situation. It's not actually what I was really even thinking about in the context of PAX, of like international attendees. Because you're right. If you want people from other countries to come to an event to attend or exhibit, like they have to be able to get into and subsequently out of the country. But most importantly, they need to get in. And it's still not easy to get into the US, despite what the perception might be.
Yeah, and I mean, potentially you could have to spend 2 weeks plus here if some of the ways that certain restrictions are if you did need to come to the US. And I don't know that a lot of international companies would want to pay for their teams to come here on that kind of dime, to spend 2 weeks quarantining in a hotel. That just doesn't seem feasible.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually if the US, do they have the 2-week quarantine restriction? I guess I don't
know.
It might be only for specific countries.
Yeah.
I would say that like if we were running our event in August that we were planning to in LA, like we were intending to initially, I'd probably know the answer to this, but I would be surprised if it's to that level still. I'm sure there might be some countries on the list, but yeah, I mean, it's a huge cost consideration, right? It's not just you're flying to PAX for the weekend and we'll send you there a couple days before to set up and you can leave the next day. It's like it could potentially be a 2x multiplier on all of the costs, not just hotels, but travel and food and Ubers and all the other stuff that comes with traveling.
You must at least provide negative COVID tests, at least. So it's all the CDC standards in Washington. Yeah,
it's pretty standard.
So within 3 days, and yeah, that's even at minimum an added cost. And I don't know which countries are still on the list where they're not allowed to travel directly to the U.S. even with negative COVID tests, because I'm aware there is a list still, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's like a lot of European countries on that list too, which is really interesting. I don't know. It's this whole we're gonna be living with this for through 2022 in some capacity, right? I've just sort of resigned myself to that.
Not
hopefully.
Go ahead.
No,
it's not car concerts.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're going to be getting any car. We've kind of missed the car concert window, unfortunately, or
right.
Fortunately, depending on your perspective.
Yeah, depending on the perspective. Missed my opportunity, Mitch.
Yeah, well, maybe the next time there's a global pandemic.
Maybe I'll be retired by then.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll be in a position with some cash flow and time to do something about it.
Yeah, right.
That's funny. Have you been watching any of the Valorant tournament that's going on, to change topics?
I have not watched any of the Valorant tournament that is going on right now. I should be, but I don't really watch anything anymore. I'm a little busy.
Oh, I know, right? Remember what watching stuff used to be? I'm also like, it's funny because normally when I ask you a question like that, I then have like a witty retort about like, oh yeah, XYZ. My answer is gonna be, yeah, I also haven't either. So, I've noticed the same thing, that like there's no time. I'm lucky if I get like an hour to maybe watch something one evening, right? Whether that's like some YouTube videos just to chill out, or kind of trying to watch Game of Thrones again, or whatever. But yeah, my like free time has been occupied pretty substantially, and it's nice, but it's noticeable.
Yeah, it's inhibiting for sure, and I have not been able to enjoy as much content as I would like to. Loki, I've been squeezing in there every so often, with a meal here or there, but I have not been able to catch any like scheduled events. It has to be something I can watch on my own time. If it's not something I can just queue up and play on demand, then it's probably not getting watched, to be honest.
Yeah, Loki's really good. I actually have not seen this week's episode. It's always nice. It's always nice when you miss a week, though, and then you come back and you maybe have like 2 or 3 to watch, right? So there is some value in taking a week off every once in a while.
That there is. Lego Masters is one that I have stored up to watch. That's a good one.
What? I don't know anything about that.
Ooh, that's on season 2. It is hosted by Will Arnett. and he has 2 Lego master builders that come on, and there's teams of 2 that build off, kind of like in a British Bake Off kind of way, and it's all with Lego buildings. Like,
cool.
Yeah, yep.
They did a Star Wars episode.
They did do a Star Wars episode.
I'm looking at the episode list. It's like
Yep.
Star Wars, Hero Shot, where it's like people make minifigures, Lego Day Parade. I really like shows like that, and I think Lego building is ripe for something like. I mean, obviously it exists, like it was ripe for it, but. Man, so I guess essentially, do they just have a giant tub of Legos and then they're told like you need to build a stormtrooper and then it's just like go, you have 10 hours, or how does it work?
They give them themes for sure. So one of the last themes that came by was like it looked like they had a shaking building, and so they were gonna have to build a building to a certain height that was gonna have to withstand going on this shaking pad. Yeah, right? Not only does it have to look cool, it has to be functional. That's one of the cool things about a lot of these builds. They'll give them some mixed themes like that. They had some where they were exploding and having to like show off the capability of building something fragile yet cool looking. I think the last one that I saw a commercial for was a hat. Like they had to like wear it as a fashion accessory.
A Lego hat?
Lego hat. But as far as like they give them the theme, and they usually give them some sort of base to start with, but then they have an entire section of the studio, which the studio is fucking amazing. It's really, really cool. The Lego bricks up top move up and down, and there are the lights above the build stations, and the doors open, and they're made of Legos, and it's cheesy as shit, just like this kind of show should be. And it's Lego, so it's obviously themed for children a little bit, but the Lego walls are just canisters of bricks that you can just go take handfuls out of whatever it is that you need in whatever color that you want. I think they said they have like 3 million bricks that they have access to. I want to be
3
behind
million?
scenes on this thing so bad to watch how they do this.
How do they do they have to disassemble all the things and reset the brick?
I
like
imagine
pools?
someone has to. Whose intern job is that?
Do you know there's a big controversy with Legos around them ending up in the ocean and washing up on beaches and polluting the earth?
Who throws Legos away? Who wastes a good Lego?
I'm not sure. I think I potentially there's also like a Lego factory somewhere that like sometimes bits and pieces end up in the ocean or something. I don't know. Apparently this is like a really big problem in certain parts of the world though.
I had no idea.
Yeah, this is like a thing. This is like a side tangent in my brain. But yeah, so also I think Lego recently announced that they were going to start making their Legos out of like fully recycled plastic and things, right? Or potentially materials that are more easy to break down and dispose of. I don't know if that's all true or not. That could just be marketing BS, but it is really fascinating to think about the downstream ramifications of creating Lego.
If my Millennium Falcon degrades over time at all, I will be pissed.
Good point.
I even have the small one. I don't even have the big one. My buddy's got the Star Destroyer, and it's like 4 feet long. I don't even have room for the Star Destroyer to go somewhere.
Man, how many pieces is that?
Thousands and thousands of pieces.
Anyway, I do agree. I would love to see the set and actually kind of like I wish I could be a fly on the wall, right? It's just like I just want to see, right, to answer these questions. Yeah, how do they tear it down and reset it and get all the Legos back in the buckets? Like, how do the doors actually open and close? Like, is Will Arnett actually a really cool guy, or is he kind of an asshole when the camera gets turned off? Like, I don't know. These are all the questions I want to know.
Yep. And it's enough of that little bit of reality TV where they do the interviews on the side with them being like in the like post of like recall what happened here, and they have to like go back and talk about it as if it's happening right now to put it in that clip during like that shot that they captured. The architecting of that entire thing is just crazy for how much goes into that kind of show, and looking at building, I mean, productions, looking at building sets and all the things that go into that. It's a lot of money and time and energy to make these things happen, and I always wondered, did Lego pay for this or did Fox pay for this? Who is actually paying for this one?
Lego.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Lego's. I mean, Lego's agency, right?
Yeah, that's the reality.
I feel like it's a sponsored marketing gimmick, right? At the very least, if it wasn't, if Fox was like, we want to come up with a Lego building show, right? They obviously had to go talk to Lego and get the rights and the IP and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if I had to like finger in the air, I'd say, yeah, I think Lego probably was the initiator or pushed it.
I would think so as well. I believe that they gain a lot out of having a show like this and showing the cool things that can be done with Legos even without having to build. And it even makes me, as an event organizer, my boss, Gary, originally loved the idea of having a Lego like build room at the show, which post-COVID, it's kind of hard to imagine doing that, right? But having
you'd need the sanitary logistics of doing a Lego build room actually just kind of make my mind melt a little bit.
Yep. Makes you think about those old ball pits at Chuck E. Cheese and McDonald's. Yep. There's a reason those weren't around.
Those things are so gross. They're so gross. Gross.
He wanted to have a Lego building area, and I would love to have an area of our show that has Legos there, that we could do a Lego building contest. Because what's nerdier than playing with Legos? Not a whole lot. Except for Legos are amazing. So let's go nerd out playing with Legos, and we'll do a build contest. Everyone gets the same kit. Let's see what you can make.
Oh man, that'd be tons of fun. You could definitely do that if you apportioned everybody with a kit and said, here you go. If it was literally like a free form, just walk into a room, there's tubs of Legos everywhere, and it's just like, it might be 2023 before we see a Lego pit, right?
Yeah.
But damn, do I want one? Because that sounds like it. I would hang out. I'd build some Legos for sure.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I don't even care if I just get a random 5-gallon bucket. I'll build something.
Yeah, right. Damn straight I will. Oh man. All right, so Lego Masters, love it. I'm gonna have to put that on the list. Put it on the list.
Yep. That's a good one.
Should we get a sound effect for any time we're gonna put some on the list?
Ooh. Put it on the list. And then what's on the list? Do we need to reference the list every so often?
Whatever we put on it.
Have we done anything on the list?
No.
No, nothing yet.
No. Car concerts, I guess, are technically on the list.
They were on the list, and I hope we don't have to follow through with that. That's for sure. My county fair, the state fair, that was the county fair, is also happening this year. It happened last year. Good old Puyallup, aka Washington State Fair.
Yeah, Puyallup.
Yep, that thing is curious too how that'll happen, but I don't think there's going to be too much fear around these parts of that one, because it's normally a different crowd that goes to that, a little bit more of the outside crowd anyways, the farmers and the ranchers, and even I don't know if we'll do the bull riding this year, but we do host a bull riding stop, a PBL stop, or PBR.
Oh,
PBR?
like that. PBL. PBR is a beer, right? Professional bowl. Is it like PBRL?
Yes, I think so.
I don't know.
Purple.
It's like the purple, the professional bull riding circuit, basically, right?
Yes.
Purple.
That one.
Those goof. I love those kinds of sports. I don't know what the right word is for a sport like bull riding.
Extreme.
Sure. I love extreme sports, and this kind of kills my story I was gonna tell, though, because I don't think we would classify bowling as an extreme sport, and I was gonna classify bowling in the same category as professional bull riding. What? So alternative sports I really enjoy, like bull riding and dart throwing and bowling. Okay.
Dart throwing's intense. There's some serious contest there.
I think dart throwing it's amazing when you watch those guys get up there and just triple 20, triple 20, triple 20. It's like, damn.
That was a part of me and my business partner's original pitch on esports, is that if you can be a fan of dart throwing, you can be a fan of just about anything. So there will be fans for video games because people play video games. People play darts, and there are fans of darts.
This is true. I think thankfully the whole idea of being a fan of esports in today's climate's gotten a little bit easier for, it's becoming more accepted. It's like more commonly understood that like, yeah, people watch other people playing video games and the stigma is wearing off, but that's a good way to put it. If you can be a fan of darts, why not competitive games?
Yep. It was a pretty good way to put that. And I'm glad that it has changed. And the stigma has for sure shifted. They're at the Olympics right now. Technically, the company I work for is producing Olympic esports.
Yeah, but like it's not like actually an Olympic event, is it not? I thought it's like a side event that's kind of attached to it, but it's not like fully sanctioned. Or has that changed?
I don't know exactly how it falls. I just know that there is something that says Olympics with Intel with ESL was what I saw, and I think it's the closest that anything has come so far. I'm also a little torn on the whole Olympics and esports kind of thing, but I'm not torn enough to say that it's not something cool and that we haven't made it a long ways in the short amount of time that esports has really been exploding this way.
Are you torn? Olympics and esports, would you be torn because of like the controversy around the sanctioning body and like needing their approval? Or are you torn because like you don't think esports should be in the Olympics and it seems like it is going? Like, what makes you torn about it?
There's something like in my mind about the Olympics. It's always been a little bit more sacred to competition and like physicality around that for sure. And I won't be the one to stand up on top of a mountain and say that esports are the most physical thing in the world. They require reaction time. They require really good reflexes and precision, but it's not peak physicality like you normally expect an Olympian to have. Like, let me just paint this picture for you, because they're going on in Japan, and like I watched the John Oliver bit on this. It's fucking hilarious. Love John Oliver. And he talks about how the condom company over there is encouraging, or they're handing out the sponsored condoms, but they're encouraging them not to have sex. And he frames this picture of, you're talking about the most beautiful people in the world, the most physically fit people in the world, and you're asking them not to have sex, and they're never going to see each other potentially ever again, because they're going to go back to their countries and like never ever see each other again. But what happens when the esports nerds roll in there to that Olympic pavilion? They're gonna look a little bit different than the rest of the Olympians.
Damn straight. Those are my nerds, John. Back off. Yeah, I didn't talk about my people that way.
But there's something about that the Olympics, it just does not vibe well. And I don't know that video games need to bend the knee to the Olympics like I think they're going to try to become an Olympic official thing. And that's what I'm really afraid of. It's not that we won't be able to fit in the long run, because I know we'll be able to fit in anywhere because we're fucking amazing. But it's that we will try to fit in too much, and we will bend to that authority eventually somewhere along the line. And the Olympics are powerful. The NCAA ended up having to bend to us. That was pretty freaking cool. They're going to change some rules to ultimately accommodate esports, because they know they're going to miss the wave if they don't. But it was kind of the resilience of esports that did that, and I don't think we ever need to bend.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do look at the Olympics as like that. Well, if you're in the Olympics, you've made it. It's a stamp of approval, and it gives all this credence and credibility. And I do think it does lend credence and credibility and gives you that stamp. But like I do tend to fall on the side of, we don't need the Olympics. If anything, they need us. And I am a little, it'd be cool to see potentially, but I don't know. Like, I am excited though that Rocket League is one of these games that is sort of getting pulled into it, because while I think that a game like, if you think about a game like Counter-Strike or even Valorant in some ways, like it, coming up with national teams and whatever in competitions, like sure you can do it, but if you have a game like Rocket League where it's like a soccer sim, it makes a lot of just intuitive sense that there would be like a World Cup kind of vibe, or like a national representation kind of vibe. And so of course I just want to pimp my game a little bit because I think it's the best. But Yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's great. I tend to fall on the side of we don't necessarily need them, but also at the same time, if esports go into the Olympics, they will not be bending the knee to us. Like if anything, esports is going to have to bend and give a bit. I think just because the IOC is like a body that's on that much of a different level, and there's not like an equivalent esports governing body that could come in and basically negotiate on our behalf.
Did you know that Japan does not have the rights to cancel the Olympics?
Say what?
Yeah, it says in the Olympic contract they signed. IOC is
mean?
the only ability, or the only person with the ability to cancel the Olympics.
Oh, so like, is that always the case?
I would imagine it probably is. That episode of John Oliver explaining like the shit show that is like billions of dollars and all of that kind of thing that go into it. It's a big money pit. The Olympics are. They are a giant fucking money pit. The only person that really wins are the broadcast networks. Japan's about to get screwed because they're not even allowing visitors into the country right now. And tourism's one of the major parts of even having the Olympics in your country.
Yeah, it's one of the only ways you can actually justify it. But I do know that typically when the Olympics come, these cities and states or in countries, they spend, hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases constructing entire like arenas and facilities and pools and stadiums,
Airports.
And the airports, infrastructure, only for this like small window of time. And then once the event is over, sometimes they just sit there and they just don't get used again. And it's a massive money sink. And I do think you're right. The broadcasters definitely win here. I think national pride, we hosted the Olympics is an intangible thing, but yeah, I don't know if I would be wanting to opt my city into the logistical nightmare of bringing the Olympics to town, even if especially if I couldn't have tourists, what's the point?
Right? That just kills the entire allure of any money that you could have brought in from external countries, tourism at all. I feel bad that they're gonna end up having all of this because they have put in insane $30 to $50 billion is the figure that supposedly is out there. They were originally budgeting 15. What?
B? Like Billy?
B with a Billy boy. Billions. Yeah.
Can you imagine spending $15 billion on a project?
And then going, I need another 15.
Sorry, boss. We're a little under. It's cool. We got some room. How much do you need? Like another 15?
All of it? We didn't
million? We got maybe 15, 20 million. No. Like the entire budget. Again, we need that. It's wow. Just imagine only in government.
Only in government, because if you came to your boss and proposed a budget like that, I'm sure you'd get laughed out of the conference room that you were in with them as they said you're fired.
So if you needed 30, you should have told us 4 years ago you needed 30 and not told us 15 because we gave you 15. We're going to give you the 30, but, naughty. And yeah, to your point, it's like you do that in the private sector, you get laughed at. Bye.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep, it's exactly only government. Episodes of Parks and Rec come to minds through all of this, but I digress.
I digress.
They have a show too, a crafting show. Amy Poehler and
really?
Nick Offerman. I saw that scrolling the other day. I'm like, I had no idea. Supposedly it's on its second season.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah, talk about having. I mean, I don't pay attention to pop culture anyway. I don't have time, so it's not like I'm gonna watch it anyway. But I do think Offerman and Poehler are quite funny people.
Oh yeah, the commentary between the two of them over criticizing someone's project, in my mind, it just plays out something so enthusiastic and happy and positive, and then what is this? What have you crafted here? Can you explain this to me, because I need to know what it is before I can respond to this. And then the other one's just, yo, it's so nice, it's so beautiful.
Ridiculous.
Yes. Well, I think we've made it an hour, or close enough to an hour.
Yeah, I think we made it an hour.
We started right on the hour mark, right?
we did, and I think unfortunately we're gonna take next week off because one of us will be in the middle of nowhere with no internet. So yeah, and that's me. So unfortunately, I think we gotta take a week off, but I think we could both maybe use it, and then we will try to be back the week after that. This also begs an interesting question of when I am in another country or doing an event, if we're gonna do the show, maybe we should have a discussion about that too.
When is your event?
It's in August.
Okay, because I got an event at the end of July, so we each got events coming up too.
Yes, you do.
Mine's here though, right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say a little different, but I don't want to discount the fact that we're both in the deep throes of event mode, which is like, I don't know. I reflect on like someday we'll have some stories to tell, right? And
Yes.
Even just we had the conversation before we went in the air of like, can you imagine it? Can you believe it's been 12 months since we were just hanging out in Seattle last year, and it's like, wow, time it's just flying by so fast. So yeah, hopefully your event planning is going well, and if we got to take that week off too, we will most certainly take that week off as well. I wasn't thinking about that.
We'll talk about it though. I don't know what it's going to look like. We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll even be able to do a little bit of event coverage. Maybe we'll ask the questions. Maybe we'll pop in and show you the show.
Should we do a little live stream, little marketing ploy? Yeah, we could maybe write off some expenses on that one too.
I need to be approved on the lists though, because I work for a large media conglomerate now. I need to make sure that I'm on the approved talking about the products we make list, even though I'm the one designing the products. So.
Oh yeah. Is that,
yay,
okay.
big business.
Well, probably not a terrible thing, but
until
anyway,
then, 2 weeks from now. Bye. We are Theory Crafting. This is Mitch and Kyle. We'll be back in. No, thanks for watching Theory Crafting, everybody. This has been Mitch and Kyle talking about random things in the nerd and pop culture world this week. Join us in 2 weeks when we'll talk about probably more nerdy things, and maybe we'll be sponsored by then. Maybe not. Well then, bye.
Bye.